Hey everybody, welcome to the Opinionated Reefer YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about Acropora Eating Flatworms, STN, RTN and the general issues I've been having with the tank behind me. So this is my tank as of the 1st of October. As you can see, there's still quite a few big acro colonies present in the tank at this time, but if we take a closer look here, I'll point out some of the damage. So if we take a look at this large bally slimer colony, you'll see quite a bit of STN spreading up the base. Now that was a pretty big colony to lose, and if you take a look at this red planet here, there's also a lot of STN in the core of that acro at the end there. Here I'm just trying to give you a rough idea of the actual scale of this bally slimer colony. STN stands for slow tissue necrosis and RTN stands for rapid tissue necrosis. STN and RTN is actually a pretty common occurrence in SPS dominated tanks, and it usually hits the more sensitive types of SPS such as Acropora. However, it can happen for a number of reasons, and it's not always straightforward to try and pin down what the actual cause is. Pretty common cause of STN from the base of your Acropora or your SPS is a lack of nutrients or really low phosphate levels, or even a big drop in phosphate. However, it could just be down to poor overall water quality in the tank, or even a build-up of detritus. Now in my case, I think it was down to two things, the first of which was really high phosphate levels. The phosphate had crept up to 0.6, which is probably about 10 times higher than it should be. And the second reason was Acropora eating flatworms, every SPS keeper's worst nightmare. Now when we look at the underside of this large bally slimer colony, we can really see the extent of the damage. Now if I'd just left that in the tank, that would have kept on spreading and would have just killed the entire colony. I'm not actually sure if that's caused by the worms or if it's just general STN. Now here's another colony that I was forced to break up. This is actually what's called a tricolour Valladia. I grew this out from a small frag and it's been in my tank for over a year and a half. Now as you'll see in a minute, this was definitely caused by the Acropora eating flatworms. I've got a whole bunch of frags there, not many of these that have actually survived. The dip I'm using is Reef primer, and I think I made the dip a little bit too strong. Now it killed the worms, but it also burned the coral pretty badly. I managed to capture some excellent footage of what a large adult Acropora eating flatworm actually looks like. Now while the coral's under the water, these are almost impossible to spot, but when the coral has been taken out of the water and has actually dried out a bit, you can usually spot them pretty easily, as we can see here. Once you get these things in your tank, they're nigh on impossible to eradicate. People have tried various in-tank treatments over the years. A common one is a product called Flatworm Exit, but that has virtually no effect on these type of worms. It works on your common sort of rust coloured flatworms, but not Acropora eating flatworms. There's also a couple of different products on the market that claim to work against Acropora eating flatworms. The first one is Flatworm Stop, which is a sort of coral conditioner that doesn't actually kill the worms, but it helps Acroporas build up a slime coat and helps them build up their own natural defences. The second product is called AEFW, which is a similar idea. it helps the corals build up their own natural defences and is supposed to stop the Acropora eating flatworms from reproducing, but so far neither one has had any effect on the worms as far as I can tell. The only way that you're truly guaranteed to get rid of these worms is to remove all Acropora from the tank and dip them on a regular basis, which is easier said than done when you've large encrusted colonies. Or you could just bin all your acros and let your tank go acro free for a couple of months until the worms have died out. This is another colony that was quite badly affected, and as you can see, the entire core of the colony has been eaten away, and then due to the high phosphates, algae has set in and made the situation even worse. However, I did manage to save a few frags of this, which wasn't so bad. So this is the tank as of now. As you can see, I've lost a few big colonies, well, 4 to be exact, and quite a few smaller frags as well. So the first one there that's just nothing but a stump was my tricolour Valladia. Also lost a large red planet colony. I was forced to break up the massive Ballygreen Slimer colony, and I lost that acro colony that was rotten at the core. Some people might look at what's left and say, well, that's still pretty good, but to me my tank is nothing but a shadow of its former self now, and these worms have really sickened me. The remaining acros in the tank seem to either be immune or just not to the worm's taste so far, but we'll see how long that lasts. It's high time somebody came up with a genuine in-tank treatment for these Acropora eating flatworms. So if you're watching this and you work in the aquarium supplement industry, we need these things gone now. They're actually ruining the hobby for hobbyists who would otherwise be highly successful at this. They're not a problem for beginner hobbyists or people who keep easier corals or just don't have a lot of Acropora, but they punish the guys who've put the time and effort into keeping the corals that are considered the pinnacle of reef keeping. In all honesty, it gets you asking the question, is this really all worth it? One thing you've got to understand about Acropora eating flatworms is dipping isn't enough to prevent these from entering your tank. It takes a strong dip for an extended period of time to be effective, and that still doesn't work against the eggs. So the only real option is to quarantine your Acropora, and how many of us are really willing to put in the time, effort and resources to do that? So that's all from me this time round, guys, so I'll catch you in the next one.